This is a meeting to discuss the future of Hitchin Town Hall and Museum. Just a brief introduction to myself. I'm the chairman of the meeting tonight. My name's Darren Isted, formerly the editor of the comic newspaper, and now with my own company, Spitfire PR. I'm here to make sure that basically everyone can ask the questions that they want to ask, and that we have people here tonight, we have speakers and we have panel members who are able to answer those as well. And we'd like to do those obviously with the very best of order. Before we have our speeches, in the best traditions of breaking news from local newspapers, etc., we've got a statement which has been given to me. I've been asked by Councillor Tony Hunter from North Herts District Council, who's the Executive Member for Community Engagement, to read out a statement to you. And having spoken to the organisers of this particular event, they've agreed that this is fine. So I'm going to read this statement out first, and then the meeting will begin. Just to make it plain, my role in this is purely as an arbiter, so purely an independent overseer of this, to make this run as smoothly as possible. So, a statement from Councillor Tony Hunter, North Herts District Council's Executive Member for Community Engagement. I would like to express my apologies for being unable to attend this meeting this evening. However, I hope that the following statement outlines the Council's current position on the North Hertfordshire Museum and Hitchin Town Hall project. At a meeting with NHDC's Cabinet last night, councillors considered a report on the ongoing discussions around the acquisition of 14 and 15 Brand Street from Hitchin Town Hall Limited. At the meeting, the Cabinet agreed to progress the alternative options available to enable the museum to open. The options include not purchasing 14 and 15 Brand Street and instead modifying the building to allow access. However, this would not be ideal, providing a reduced offer to the public and restricting the income generation potential of the building. A further option is that the Council consider exercising its compulsory purchase powers to acquire the property. Both of these options will now be progressed, while keeping open the possibility of a negotiated settlement with HTHL, obviously Hitchin Town Hall Limited. We are extremely disappointed that we haven't as yet reached an agreement with HTHL on the acquisition of 14 and 15 Bryan Street. A further negotiation meeting has been scheduled for the 2nd of February, and we sincerely hope that an agreement can be reached, as we really do want the building to open to the public as soon as possible. However, because negotiations have been so protracted, we feel that it is in the best interests of the Council and residents to proactively consider other options that would allow us to fully open the museum. As such, the option of using the Council's compulsory purchase powers is on the table, as it would allow us to fully open the building, allowing the best visitor experience possible and maximising the income generating potential of the building. And that's the statement from Councillor Tony Hunter. Okay, we have three speakers who are, as I say, speaking for 5 minutes. We'll hear them first, and then we will take questions from the audience to our speakers and to our 5 panellists who will come and join us after the speakers have spoken. The first person to speak will be Jackie McDonald, who formed the pressure group, The Future of Hitchin Town Hall and Museum, a social media public group. He's a Hitchin resident of some 20 years, and stood 3 times as an independent candidate in local government. So first up is Jackie McDonald.
Thank you very much, Darren. Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me? Yes. Great, right. Well, it's very difficult to know where to begin, but the first point to say is thank you to every single member of the public who's turned out for this meeting tonight, because this is a public scandal. 2 years ago, a public meeting took place in this very room on Hitchin Town Hall and the North Hertfordshire Museum. At that meeting, in this very room, Councillor Richard Fake stated, and I quote his words, he was, I quote, mystified as to why we are here. Councillors are committed, North Herts District Council have found the cash and the project will be delivered, end quote. Well, I don't think one single person in this room tonight is in the least bit mystified why we are here. Overdue, over budget and not delivered. A beautiful work of art to the credit of the entire North Herts Museum staff, working under incredibly difficult circumstances, remains unopened and at an astronomical financial cost to the taxpayer. There are people in this community having to choose between eating or heating, literally, and if a compulsory purchase order goes through, we will be paying through the nose with our council tax bills for years to come. So, in my view, it's clear as day that certain officers and members of Cabinet would rather pursue a personal vendetta against David Lill-Bennett than simply sign the deal sitting on the table. And I say they should sign the deal. The deal on the table right now was put in front of full council on the 31st of August by Stephen Pike, who's in this meeting tonight, and David Lill-Bennett, who's sitting to my right here. And at that meeting, I was present in the public gallery. Not one single councillor, nor Mr David Scholes, raised any issue of objection with any part of that deal to full council that night. In view of the mismanagement of this project from the outset, the view of many members of the group who have called this meeting tonight is that we now wish to see Hitchin Town Hall and Museum formally registered as a community asset. The group have a number of questions we've assembled to ask councillors at this meeting. I have these questions here and I will pop these questions at an appropriate point during the course of the debate. But it's your meeting. Thank you for turning out. Over to all of you.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. The next person to speak will be David Lill-Bennett. David is a former city banker, previously on the North Herts District Council and director of HTH Finance Limited. So, David.
I'm going to read a little statement out first of all, because I think it's quite important, and then I will say a few more comments. I'm here tonight as a former director of HTH and as a director of HTH Finance Limited. As some of you know, I'm an officer of the Hitchin and Hartleton Conservative Association and was a Conservative councillor for Highbury Ward for 4 years. I wish to make the following absolutely clear. All discussions and comments I make tonight are me speaking as a director and as a resident of Hitchin. Any criticisms or comments I make are in that capacity and in that capacity alone. I would like to thank Jacqueline and her team for arranging this meeting tonight and for all the hard work they have put in. As reported, I am pleased to answer any questions that people may have, and as has been stated on many occasions, there is absolutely no confidentiality. Stephen Pike, the chairman of Hitchin Town Hall Limited, is here present tonight, and I'm sure may well wish to embellish details from time to time. There are many people here who are not aware of the history of this tortuous saga, and many who have made comments on social media, not knowing all the facts. Unfortunately, this can lead to misinformation and particularly nasty comments, when the reality is that those involved have only ever wanted to save the town hall for the community. I propose to give a brief synopsis to put events into some context, if that would be helpful. So that was my statement. We agreed a 5-year rolling facility. That means, because initially they said it would become an asset, a community asset. That doesn't protect it at all. For 6 months, it doesn't mean anything. So we arranged for a 5-year rolling facility. So the council always had to give you guys and the community of Hitchin 5 years notice if they ever want to sell it, so you can raise some money and buy it. That was agreed. Cut a long story short, now the documentation came back to us. It was very poorly drafted. It went back to our lawyers. They came back again, and that document, I think, was sent to them sometime in November. They came back, which you will see, with a lot of fundamental issues that they couldn't do. 10 of them. One of those fundamental issues was whether you call a loan an informal loan or a formal loan. It doesn't really matter, quite honestly. It's beggars belief that was a fundamental issue. With Stephen, we spoke to the lawyers in a lot of detail about their fundamental issues. And we came to the conclusion that we could probably deal with most of them and come up to an arrangement by putting things here, making something called a preamble, and so forth. So we went into that in a lot of detail. And I spent a long time, and we came to the conclusion we were pretty much there. And we had a meeting. We called it on the 15th of December. We tried to actually contact David Scholes by telephone, but we had a conference call. We couldn't get through to the council at the time we allocated. So we had the meeting already on the 15th. And this is the very last bit. It was in Stephen's office, in Bradshaw Johnson. I was there with Stephen. We looked at, we rechecked, and we actually phoned the lawyer there and then, just before Scholes came in, and said, look, there's this final point. Can we clarify? He said, yeah, got that sorted. Clarified. Fine. Scholes came in. He did not even sit down. He stood there and said, I cannot talk. You shouldn't be here. Pointed to me. I said, but I've done all the legal work. I've got the legal expertise to deal with this. He said, I can't do it. It's not in my brief. I said, for heaven's sake, forget personality. He said, it's not personal. I said, well, okay, it's not personal. Sit down. Stephen said to him, David, we think we're there. Your 10 fundamental points, we think we can deal with them. Let's sit down and talk. He said, no. I said to him, well, look, go into the foyer, ring whoever it is, and say to them, can I come and talk to David Bennett and Stephen Pine and get this sorted? He said, I'm not doing that. And he walked out. And that's pretty much where we are now.
Okay, thank you, David. I do appreciate you being at the heart.
I hadn't heard of Tony Hunter's statement until earlier on when you read it out, Darren. What I would say, no, the empty chair policy isn't for Tony Hunter and the cabinet members. I'd like Tony Hunter to have brought his best visitor experience to Hitchin tonight to explain why and what is happening about this along with other panel members. And I think it's quite disappointing that the cabinet and other cabinet members can feel they can come and explain themselves tonight. David's right that this did feel like it started a long time ago in a universe far away, and indeed it feels also probably to continue that dreadful analogy that it's a bit like our very own Game of Thrones played out here in Hitchin. The Lannisters and the Targaryens, the Hitchin Town Hall Limited and North Herts District Council. Sadly, it's at the expense of the taxpayer, it's expense of the residents, a wonderful community facility not yet open, and anyone who's had the chance to be there knows what a fantastic facility is. The impacts on the staff of the museum who can't do their job cannot be underestimated. Terrible impacts of them, years of actually uncertainty, jobs disappearing, all of this really because what we have, I wrote this in the local paper letter the other week. Some of you may have seen it. I do feel that this is, I'm afraid, about infighting amongst the Conservative leadership of the council between different parts of the Conservative Party. And as a Labour councillor, you'd expect me to say that, of course. But actually, in reality, is that is what's happening. There is these, I think, some deep animosities here. But I must say here, what we need in Hitchin, what we need in North Herts is competent political leadership. Whether it's bins, or playgrounds, or Churchgate, we need a council leadership, or whatever party it is, that actually can deliver for you as residents and taxpayers. That's not what has happened over many years now on so many different issues. And what's sad is not only in terms of social, that us as councillors, and your elected representatives find out more on social media, on Jackie's website pages, than we ever do from actually North Herts Council and council leadership, who don't tell us things, so we have to tease it out, step by step, letter by letter, question by question. Not good enough. Do better. Is, there's some bloke in the USA who came up with a book called The Art of the Deal. I can't remember who he is, I think he's done some things recently. Unfortunately, we've got a bit of the art of no deal that's been perfected here in North Hertfordshire. People, and I do feel sad, and anyone's had the chance to read the email trail that was published helpfully on the Jackie's Facebook page the other week. You know, you look at that email trail and the kind of correspondence between each other. Two sides, I beg you, get together, sort this out. Sort this out for the people of Hitchin and North Hertfordshire. When I was looking at the email trail, it's sad when you get to the point, and I'm a trade union negotiator, you know, where you see people welcoming one thing and then having a pop at people on the other hand. This is no way to do business. It is no way to run anything for you as taxpayers. I looked at, I think David mentioned about one of the developers who was possibly wanting to buy 14, 15 Brown Street, who was seeing it as a bit of a tax advantage. Well, that probably says something about the way things are at the moment, that there's people here who are going to buy up property that is rightfully yours, is actually because they think it's a good tax advantage to do that. That's a bit sad. But also, I think what we have seen in Hitchin is a number of, I think, we've got a lot of really wonderful charities and trusts in Hitchin. But I do question sometimes where we've got sometimes too many trusts, too many unelected and unaccountable trusts. And what was quite stark to me last night when the Cabinet were meeting is that half the Cabinet had to leave the meeting last night when the debate was on about the Hitchin Town Hall and the museum item, because they were trustees of the Workmen's Hall Trust. I mean, this is not a sensible way to do business, not a sensible way to run assets that are yours and yours rightfully. Look, Darren, I'll finish with this. I think I think we all welcome that there is a meeting on the 2nd of February. I said that it was really vital that people didn't set preconditions, didn't say who could and couldn't attend. You all need to get together in that room. Frankly, don't leave it until a deal is done. I think it's right that the leadership of North Wales Council are looking at alternatives, compulsory purchase orders, building a new lift. But let's also be very, very clear. These are not solutions. These are the compulsory purchase order will just lead to years of potential legal action. It will not settle this as a dispute. And building a lift, yes, you could do that. Actually, it's probably quite a good idea to build another lift in the building, but it still will not actually resolve it all for once and for all. That is only way we can do that is actually setting aside those differences. I mean, I mentioned in a letter, and I think Jackie deleted it actually, that I wasn't allowed to mention personalities, that if North Korea could talk to South Korea, and Kim Jong-un could talk to the South Korean president, I wasn't quite sure which David was or which the leader was. That's, you can all make your own judgments about that. But I think if they can talk, I really hope that Steve and David and North Herts Council can get together on the 2nd of February, sort this out. The differences I don't believe are so huge, and I think David's right in that. The differences I've seen in that email trail that was published don't look huge to me, but I'm no lawyer. But what I don't want to get into is the fact that we actually move away from having to talk through lawyers. Let's talk as a community, let's talk as individuals, let's talk as people of Hitchin and North Hertfordshire, sort this out, get this museum open. I really hope the 2nd of February we have some really fantastic news. Thank you, colleagues, really interesting.
Okay, for the next stage is obviously the most important part. We'd like to get some questions from the audience, but I'd also like to welcome up onto the stage 5 panel members who kindly agreed to appear here with us this evening in a personal capacity. So if you'd like to show your thanks for them to come as well. Thank you. On the stage this evening, joining me are Steve Jarvis, who is the Liberal Democrat, former Liberal Dem leader on NHDC, but also councillor for Weston and Sandon. Martin Steers-Hanscom, who is the Labour councillor for the Orton Ward. Claire Strong, who is the Conservative councillor for Hitchin, between Offa and Who, Steve Hemingway, the councillor for Netherwood, and also Simon Harwood, who is the Hitchin Highbury councillor as well. So we'd like to thank them. And once again as well, please, we thank the three speakers who've already spoken to tonight as well. Thank you.
Hello, it's Barry Evans. I'm very interested in this. Do you agree, does the panel agree, that there should be a public inquiry into this whole mess with witnessing acting under oath? I'd like your opinion, please.
Well, I think the important issue in the short term is to get the impasse, the standoff between the council and Hitchin Town Hall resolved and the Town Hall open. Now, David Bennett's been through a long history, and I think has abbreviated it quite a lot. So there's a lot of past history about failure to operate constructively, which I think, in the fullness of time, needs to be looked at. But I think that what we have to concentrate on in the short term is getting to a position where the two parties resolve their differences, get the town hall open, and get to a position where it can be used for the benefit of the people of Hitchin and indeed of the rest of North Hertfordshire. So let's do that first, and one worry about whose fault it is and what should happen once we've actually got the thing used.
I think there was an
I would like to say that we actually have a fantastic museum, and with all parties willing, we will have a fantastic entrance for that museum. There has been a lot of history, which David Bennett has gone to this evening, but I think myself and the colleagues from the council, we are all looking to the future, getting back all the parties together on February 2nd. And I hope that when they are there, that before they get to that meeting, all the I's and all the T's can be crossed about who's going to attend that meeting and what their agenda is. And I hope that they will come out of that meeting having signed the deal, because from what we're hearing, there's willingness from all parties to go ahead and make that deal happen. As to what has happened in the past, yes, I think there are an awful lot of lessons that can be learned. From the council's point of view, they have a commitment that there will be a drains up and look at it through the overview and scrutiny group. As to whether or not there's a public inquiry, again, I think that will be decided in the future. I think the most important thing tonight is that we make sure that for the future, everything is in place to make this a sensible meeting, because that, I believe, is the outcome that everybody wants.
Thanks, Claire. Finally getting to the public inquiry question. And Steve, you were keen to answer. So
I was going to mention that the Overview Scrutiny Committee will examine this whole project when it's deemed to be finished, and several of my fellow members are on that committee, and I'm sure will have a lot to say when that point is deemed to arise.
There should be, I think, a public inquiry. The trouble is there's the cost associated with that for the taxpayer. What I certainly am not happy about is for if it goes to scrutiny, and if it is the drains up, then I have no problem with that. But I do think there needs to be some pretty, I think it should be independent. It doesn't have to be a public inquiry. It could be an independent inquiry. You can get people to look at this. We have Nicholas Moss, who's the independent. Help me out, Claire. What's in Nicholas Moss is the independent arbiter or something in North Herts. He's a very well-established individual and very fair, and I think someone like him would be very useful to have this properly with some professionals outside. Not the trouble is it's all internal, and if it's all internal, then things happen. And let's be clear.
I
think this is very important. We have had scrutiny before, and I have called items in, and because of the way it's balanced politically, it has not, in my view, when I was a councillor, been a true scrutiny. So I think if it's a true scrutiny, yes. If not, some sort of independent. Thank you.
everyone to just answer that section. You need to stand.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let my microphone go. Sorry.
No, I mean, you know, I think it was Harold Wilson said Royal Commission's public inquiries take minutes and last hours, and there's some truth in that. And I think the real problem is, and I will make the political point here, when we called in the issue of playgrounds in North Hertfordshire and the closure, I'm sorry to say, Conservative colleagues, you all voted en bloc against the recommendation. It was a whipped vote, and there's a real danger that when we have a scrutiny review of the Town Hall and Museum project, we'll get exactly the same. It will be voted through on political lines. That's my concern about the scrutiny review.
Sorry, we're going to turn all the way back and go to the very back of the room. Thought that would be the case.
Hello, slight disclaimer to start off with. My name is Sam Collins. I'm the Liberal Democrat candidate for Hitchin Highbury Ward in the 28th of the May elections. I've just got a little bit of question. I work in Formula One motor racing, and when there's a dispute between two teams or an engine supplier and a team, arrangements can be done that before contracts are signed, certain areas of the partnership can go ahead. Now, as I understand it, and I might be massively wrong on this, but it's a question for Dave, and I think it's Claire over there who's on the Needham side of the Tory party split. I'm not quite sure how to what is the reason that this completed building cannot be opened to the public, that we can all go, I've got a 5-year-old daughter, I'm about to turn 5-year-old daughter, I really want to take her to the museum, it looks great. Why can't I do that? Why can't you guys do a provisional deal to allow all of us in Hitchin to go and see this great new museum we've got? You can get insurance, you can get disclaimers to do that. Why are you blocking the people of Hitchin from going in what seems to be like a personal swap?
You're not still on the council. And, I mean, just a quick roll call. Who in this room has actually been into the new museum? Excellent. About half, maybe just under half. I mean, you can go to the museum. It is open. It is open. You can just walk in. They are having some mobile exhibitions in there. If you want to go in and onto the Attic Lord, you have to book a tour. You said about having a sort of an agreement. I don't know why there wasn't an agreement potentially made with Hitchin Town Hall Limited and the council over having the access through the entrance until they had signed over. Hitchin Town Hall Limited did offer to let them have the access, for disabled access, using the lift and that, if there was a need for that. But there was, I understand, and again, maybe Stephen would like to comment on this, there was no asking if they could have use of the entrance.
And our offer was rejected.
And the offer on the lift was rejected. So I'm afraid I'm not in the executive cabinet, and I'm not being briefed by the chief executive.
Okay,
So whether that was what happened to us.
Do you want to answer the questions also?
Yeah, thank you. I know it's not great to make excuses, but I have put myself on my deathbed this evening.
Can we have an arm, please?
Don't come anywhere near me later on. I do want to point out very early on that this is a North Hertfordshire district museum. It happens fortunate, great assets here in Hitchin. And I do want to point out tonight that whilst we've obviously sat at the front, there are other councillors sitting here in the audience. Sitting in the audience here tonight. So obviously we're sitting up here sort of taking questions. That's point number one. Addressing the issue that was raised, please go and take your daughter around. It's an absolutely fantastic facility.
She's at school. A 3 o'clock appointment on a Tuesday, and 5 o'clock she's at her grandparents. It's impossible. It needs to be open for all of us.
It's open to Saturday. You've got it at school on a Saturday. I think the point being made is, thank you. I think the point being made is the limited opening which is causing the issue.
Okay, that's fair enough. But I mean, nonetheless, the fact is that, irrespective, you can walk around and it's a beautiful museum and it's a beautiful asset. Absolutely, I'm not ignoring the fact that there is some significant issues here in front of us tonight that have been laid out very eloquently by various people in front of us. What hasn't been mentioned today, David finished his speech a little bit early there, there is a meeting in the next few weeks, reconvened between the council and the various parties, hopefully to resolve it. So we hopefully think 3rd of February, 2nd of February, apologies, the date has been set. So I hope at that point, you heard David say earlier on that they believe that there's an ability to overcome the 10 fundamental issues. Let's see what happens on the 2nd of February.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, gentlemen, at the very front, I do apologise for our hard work here. We've got...
Yes, it's on this question of access.
Can we just have the name, sorry?
Brian Foreman, sorry.
Thank you, Brian, sorry.
It's on this question of access because NHDC has been breaking the regulations since the 26th of November 2016 because they've been holding exhibitions in there without access for disabled people. And disabled people are entitled under the regulations to actually have the same ability to see things as everybody else. The lift hasn't been available, and that is absolutely wrong and against all the regulations. They could have put a lift in the town hall, which was very important. This hasn't been done. The space is there. It's an absolute disgrace. And in the first exhibition, it says quite clearly here that you can only access it by stairs. And frankly, that is wrong, and the council is wrong, and they should have made access possible for all disabled people, whether it's the town hall or the museum.
There should have been a lift. Yeah, thank you, Brian. There should have been a lift incorporated into the agreement right from the very start. I mean, that is breaking the law.
On that very point, Hitchin Town Hall Limited, we said to the council when we were signing the agreement we wanted in the town hall a lift. We insisted on that. The council said no, it's too expensive. So we did say to them, look, at least put in a lift shaft, and we, at some stage in the future, would raise the money to put a lift in. That's what the arrangement was. However, knowing that there's no lift in the town hall and for disabled access, we have made several offers to the council to sign an agreement so that people could come into that and use the lift on 14 and 15 to get in. They have not at any stage taken us up on that offer, which I think is rather sad because, you know, well, I just think it's appalling, quite frankly.
I totally agree with Brian that it is a disgrace that you haven't got disabled access, but this would not have happened if we'd have solved it a year ago. That's a disgrace that it's been left this long. And I think we're all, I don't see anyone in this room who doesn't think that this year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is just completely unacceptable. And the sooner it gets resolved, the better. But I'm also conscious that the Cabinet aren't here. The people that are here are those who have a lot of criticisms of what the Council's done. And the real issue is to get to that meeting on February the 2nd. And I agree with Brian, it's an absolute disgrace that we're breaking the law.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
I just want, getting back to that meeting, which seems to be incredibly important to Croc's point, clearly the preferred option should be a negotiated deal to purchase 1415 Brown Street. How do we make sure the council does that? Because I noted in the early statement they didn't say that was a preferred option, which I thought was language that was missing, and that's very alarming this time, because the other options, one is going to be really expensive and the other one is not optimal for the building, and that building really deserves the best solution because it is beautiful. So what can we do to put pressure on the council to make sure that the right decision and the right deal is made when it comes to it, because it seems that it's been correct. I mean, I have to say the council should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. If the executive could hear this today, they should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. I made comments on the website that Jackie set up, and I was sceptical because I thought when there's money, there's murk, and I have to say that was my original suggestion. But the fact that you have a lift that you've offered to the council that would give disabled people access and they have not taken you up on that offer is an absolute disgrace. Absolute disgrace. They should be ashamed of themselves.
Simon, do you want to answer that one? What can we do to get a deal?
I don't know if it's been made clear tonight, but the price for the sale of the museum has been agreed. I don't know how many people in this room have negotiated that. It's not a large contract, this by any stretch of the imagination, but nonetheless it's a significant. So I'm going to go back for it.
That was me.
Yeah, so you know the negotiations gone through, as you've heard by Dave tonight, sort of overviewed at a high level. What we're looking at now is dotting the I's and crossing the T's on some of the various sub-clauses. I was delighted to hear that David said that we're able to compromise. And any contract negotiation is that. It's a negotiation, and both sides have to give some ground in those negotiations. I agree that it's taken so long in between. David, I think the price was agreed in March? Yeah, it was. The price was agreed last year.
How much is it? How much is the price?
£550,000.
So, you know, the fundamental part of how much you're paying has been agreed. Yeah, it shouldn't take a year plus to agree, dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and some of those sub-caveats. Absolutely agreed on that. When that comes to scrutiny, whether that's a public process or whether that's actually held within overview and scrutiny, then we will look at why it's taken that long. But at the minute, I hope that here in the near future we'll resolve that. But it's a matter of sorting the contract, dotting the I's, crossing the T's.
Okay, so Steve, you've done that. It sounds like you've nearly finished. So thanks for everyone for coming, but the deal's just about to be done. So no need anymore. We'll go.
I think the problem is the deal's just about to be done several times. I mean, I too have to say that I'm appalled that the council believes that anything other than doing a deal is the preferred option. The notion that compulsory purchase is an acceptable solution, or even one that's going to work, I think is incredible. It is, I think, at best going to take many years and cost a lot of money, and there is a significant possibility that the council's attempt to compulsorily purchase that land would fail. So that's not a solution, and that certainly shouldn't be the council's preferred solution. The problem is that they have, and we've heard this in terms of the access to the lift, not being focused on resolving this problem. Now, there's a long history of essentially poor relationships, and the council is not entirely to blame for that. There are things on occasions where Hitchin Town Hall Limited have not conducted themselves in the way in which I think they ideally should have done. The council hasn't either. The difference is that the council is supposed to be there for all our benefit. They are supposed to be conducting these negotiations for the benefit of the community. And they've lost sight of that. And they're starting to conduct, or not starting, they've been conducting for years, these discussions on the basis of the benefit of the council, forgetting that they're there to serve us, not for the council's benefit. So I think we need to encourage a change in that view. I hope that the meeting on the 2nd of February will just be a matter of dotting the I's and crossing the T's. I sincerely hope that. If it isn't, then the question was, what can we do about it? You have your chance on the first Thursday in May. You choose who your council is.
Thank you, Steve. Claire, do you want to have an answer on that? So what can we do to get a deal, and is there one absolutely imminent?
I was one of the councillors that actually attended the Cabinet meeting last night to see the paper that the Chief Executive had taken to Cabinet. Will was in the room, and all the councillors that spoke was that the preferred option was to continue the negotiations and to reach a conclusion. You might be asking then, why did they also agree to go and explore the CPO route? And that, I think, is a reluctance that the council, the officers felt, that if they cannot reach that agreement, and that if there is never going to be a deal, then their next option had to be either to look at modifications to the building, which they did not want to do, and the third option was to go down the CPO route, which is what they considered to do. Now, I don't think anybody in this room will that option to actually come to a reality. So I think what we have to look at is, as I keep saying, is to be positive to what those negotiations on the 2nd of February are going to deliver. I would hope that before the people go in the room, they all know who is going in the room, and they know that the document that they are going to discuss is the right version of the document. And maybe they ought to also have on that agenda, if they do that agreement, how quickly can they actually get the transaction done so that they can actually start using the entrance? Is there going to be a willingness from Hitchin Town Hall Limited to actually say, well, we'll finish off all the paperwork, but you can start using it tomorrow? Or is there going to be some more problems and another delay before we actually get that door open and the public going through it? I know it's been incredibly unfortunate what this whole saga has gone on. The museum, for all those that actually say the museum is open, it isn't open. The ground floor has got accessibility and there are some exhibitions that are going on. But that to me is not having our museum open. And it is our museum, it's our district museum. And I'm sure like everybody on the council just wants to get to the end of it and wants to have everybody using that building.
Thank you.